friends, Ginny D here, and I cannot believe that these words are about to come out of my mouth, but Wizards of the Coast has hired me to cosplay Tasha. Yes, that Tasha, as in Tasha's Hideous Laughter, as in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, which is the name of the upcoming new source book, which is full of optional features that you can incorporate into any D&D game. It has everything from 22 new subclasses to a complete group patron system to one of the things I'm most excited about, which is a new lineage system that allows you to change or even completely ignore racial traits. Perhaps the gnome barbarian who has been living in my heart will be less ridiculous now. Tasha, who first appeared in a D&D adventure in 1982, although under a different name, she goes by many, is a super iconic character and an extremely powerful magic user. She's the adoptive daughter of Baba Yaga, the witch who lives in a hut with chicken legs from Slavic folklore, and while Tasha has traditionally been portrayed as evil, Jeremy Crawford, the lead rules designer for Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, has said that in this portrayal, Tasha is more of a true neutral character. He describes her as being unafraid, brilliantly curious, and relentless in her pursuit of knowledge and power, so needless to say, I am obsessed with her. Tasha's Cauldron of Everything comes out November 17th, so while you're waiting for the book, why not come along with me in the process of building this costume and transforming into my wife. I mean my witch, Tasha the Witch. Okay, so first things first, we are gonna review some images of Tasha to just figure out what I am making. The thing about cosplaying a character like this, who exists in just a handful of art pieces, mostly by different artists, is that there's not gonna be quite as much consistency as you would get in like a live action movie costume or something like that. Which can be really fun because it gives me freedom and flexibility to figure out what kind of things I want to incorporate in order to bring this character to life. So I have, of course, the cover image for the book. Of course, there are a few problems with referencing primarily this image. One is that the lighting is so specific that you can't necessarily trust all of the colors. My other reference image is this concept art sheet, and this page features her 3 different looks. I'm going to be making Tasha the Witch, this middle one right here. This is the look that's featured on the cover. Up top is, of course, a witch hat. Next, we can see that her dress has this high standing collar. There's a nice little sexy boob window here. She's got a whole mess of belts and items at her waist. Just a lot going on there. And here we have skirt layers. I actually really appreciate this part of the concept art because the cover image just has like a bunch of floaty, drapey layers. This seems much more structured. It looks to me like there is an underskirt that is darker, and then there is a panel over top, and then another panel that crosses over it at the hips and goes to the back. This concept art also has some really nice references for her makeup, which I really appreciate. There's details down here about the mark on her cheek, which appears to be a chicken foot, like the feet of Baba Yaga's hut, a beauty mark on the left side of her chin, and dark lipstick with a little sort of straight bar on the bottom lip. Okay, materials. 8 yards of this black lining fabric. I couldn't find a blue that I liked at my local fabric store, so I ordered this online.
What you doing in here, pretty?
You're pretty. For all of the gold trim, I'm going to be using my mom's Cricut machine. I'm gonna cut out the right shapes out of gold heat transfer vinyl. For the little metal shapes hanging off of the sash, I wanted to make sure that I got the shapes exactly right, so I actually asked my friend Jessie, who is also my DM in one of the 2 home games that I play, to 3D model and print all of these little guys. They look like this when they're popped out. That is as much as I can reasonably procrastinate before actually starting to craft, so let's start making. All right, I'm gonna start the crafting with the hat because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm the most excited about it, and we're adults. We can eat dessert first if we want to. I bought a printable witch wizard hat pattern from Cut Sew recently that I actually initially used for a different project. It's super easy to use and I liked it a lot. Unfortunately, my vision of Tasha's hat is right between the 2 sizes that pattern offers. So I'm just gonna tweak one of those patterns a little bit and fingers crossed that it will still come out nice. I'm lining each piece with this stiff textured fabric. I'm not actually sure what it is, I got it in scraps. It'll just lend some thickness so that the hat stands up and holds its shape. I'm putting a loop of baling wire inside the brim, both so that the hat will stand up and so that I can shape it. And then each piece is lined in this blue fabric. Now, if I try to mash this under my sewing machine to sew the two pieces together, the wire will get all bent out of shape, so instead I'm just hand sewing it. This is so cute. So now all it needs is a black band right here. Okay, first of all, sorry, I had a sudden allergy attack and I now look like I have been stung by several bees. I sound very stuffy and I cannot stop sneezing, so forgive me. I cannot put it off any longer. It is time to start making the dress. The dress is definitely the core of this costume. Pretty much everything else is an accessory. While I don't think it will end up being too complicated, between the layered skirts and the window at the chest and the standing collar, there are enough sort of fiddly pieces of this dress that I think I'm going to mock it up first, just to make sure that I know everything that I'm doing and I avoid any potential pitfalls with the actual fabric. Especially since I bought the fabric online, so if I ruin it, I'm just screwed. I sound ridiculous. Okay, the mock-up is good. I've taken it apart into its pieces. I am going to cut this out of my actual fabric now and my lining. There's a bunch of piping involved. It's probably going to be like 2 days worth of sewing work to get all the pieces put together. Let's do it. This is going to be fully lined, so I have to do all of the pieces in both the black lining fabric and the blue main fabric. Then I need to add some gray piping all around the window on the chest. Now I have the sleeves fully lined and the bodice fully lined, so I can connect them to each other. Okay, so not only does the collar need to stand up, but it appears to have some vertical stripes on it. I'm gonna call that decorative stitching. It will essentially be a quilted collar. I think I'll also put a little bit of wire in the collar so that if this doesn't work, I'll have a little more control over how it sits. So based on the concept art, I think that this should have a black underskirt that you can kind of see between the two layers of overskirt. Thankfully, I have a black circle skirt that I just recently made for a different costume. So I'm just gonna try throwing that on underneath and see how that looks. Looks pretty good to me. Okay, this seems like a pretty good stopping point for tonight. I have the dress structurally done, complete with an exposed zipper that is very neat, if I do say so myself. Okay, next up is the cape. Both the cover art and the concept art show epaulettes on the shoulders of the cape, so I'm definitely gonna do that. The cover art cannot decide if there is an armhole in the cape or not. On one side there is, and on the other side there isn't. There's no sign of one in the concept art, so I am just gonna skip that and make a straight cape, just one sheet of fabric. My plan is to start with a foam base and then sandwich it in between layers of the blue fabric and then pipe it with the same gray that I used to pipe the chest window. My plan for attaching it to the dress is to use some subtle hook and eyes on the dress right underneath the collar and on the inside of the epaulettes. The cape is done and it came out pretty much exactly like I wanted it, which is awesome and not always the case. It goes on super easily. It just has hook and eyes at each shoulder. So there's a hook on the dress and a little, or rather, I suppose that part's the eye. All you have to do is hook it on and you have a cape. I think the most interesting and exciting parts of this costume are the little details and the accessories, so I'm excited to get to focus on those now. I have a big plan for the belts. There are a lot of layers of belts, which can be really hard to keep in place on a costume, so I am instead going to make a waist cincher, like a very narrow corset, and I'm going to sew the belts to the cincher so that all I have to do is put on one cincher and I have a bunch of layers of belts that are always in the right place. Hopefully that'll work like I'm thinking it will. Time to break out the boxo belts. I'm not gonna use these belts. I'm going to make my own belts with the same leather as the cincher, but I do need some buckles. Let's see if there are any in this box that I have not yet harvested. I'm going to use silver rub and buff. I bought this for a different costume and I actually never ended up using it, so this will be my first time.
Picture's gonna be on there?
It doesn't have to be if you don't want it to.
Oh, it's fine. I didn't do my hair today.
Your hair looks, no offense, exactly the same as it did the other day when you said you did it. My mom is here now. Say hi, Mom.
Hi.
To bring her Cricut machine and help me do all the heat transfer vinyl. She and my dad are also making me like a giant paper mache cauldron because Tasha the Witch obviously needs her cauldron of everything. The cauldron that I have here is very small. It's like a cauldron of a few things. Great, so I sent you Photoshop files and PDFs yesterday of the designs.
Correct.
Okay, so each of the two skirt panels has 28 inches up each side and then 18 inches across the bottom, and there's two of them. So that's 28 times 2 is 56, and then 18 plus 56 is
74.
I'm doing it! I can do math, I play D&D! This makes me feel like an anime cosplayer. Okay, home stretch. There are just a handful of little things left to do on this costume, so I'm gonna finish them and then I'm gonna get to put it all on and become Tasha the Witch. I feel like my appearance has just slowly devolved over the course of this build. I need to sew all these little bits on, which are currently pinned, and I need to make the little jewel that sits at the throat, and then we're done. I think I'm done. So my initial plan for this shoot was to do sort of like an outdoor spooky, like skeletal trees and like dried grasses and probably like some candles or something like that. Unfortunately, it snowed. So I can't do that anymore. Oh, Colorado. So instead, I'm going to build an indoor set, and I have a lot of thoughts. I am going to base it off of this cover image. Look at this masterwork. I think I've clearly communicated my concept. It's done! We're finished! This was such a cool project to get the opportunity to do. I would not normally cosplay like a character that is in
on the cover of a book and like in a book 3 times. That just is not normally my wheelhouse, but this actual costume design is so cool and was so much fun to make. It has also made me like 1,000 times more excited about Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, because apparently there are in-character footnotes and margin notes that Tasha herself has written in the book. So I'm really excited to just get some more insight into her character. If you want to learn more about the book or order your own copy, you can do so at dnd.wizards.com. Or better yet, you can seek it out at your local gaming store, and you can even look for the alternate cover, which is also beautiful. And finally, of course, huge thanks to Wizards of the Coast for giving me this opportunity and for sponsoring this video. Make sure to subscribe if you want more D&D stuff, tabletop stuff, cosplay stuff like this.